Salute to art and science. Today we are reviewing the SIMGOT EM10, a flagship in-ear monitor with 10 drivers for each ear, one dynamic driver, 8 balanced armatures, and one piezoelectric driver. Insane, right? So this is the transport case of the EM10. Really nice. It's actually quite resistant to usage because I had this thrown in my backpack while taking photos of the EM10. It comes with multiple ear tips, although I still have used my preferred DD Hi-Fi ST35 tips. The reason I'm using those DD Hi-Fi is that they are really biocompatible with my ears and I don't get any kind of irritation. I prefer having a biocompatible ear tip. And this is the SIMGOT EM10. SIMGOT really left a mark in the EM world because they are really popular with the entry-level crowds. So what can they do with a $440 EM? First off, they have included an excellent cable. Just look at the quality of the cable. It has a very slight memory effect, but it is thick, it is beautiful. It has a gold accent in the braiding, but also it has a modular design. So you can remove the jack and replace it with a different connector. Naturally, I will mostly be using the 4.4mm balanced jack. SIMGOT EM10 has two colors, one for each EM. The left earpiece is silver while the right earpiece is black. Pretty interesting, also helps a lot if you want to know which one you are holding in your hand. As you can see, there is a bit of handling noise if you scratch them, but they don't get any scratches. They are really resistant to scratches, both the outer shell and the inner shell of the EM. The cable is connected via the 2-pin connector, so it is easy to upgrade, but I don't think you will be upgrading the cable anytime soon because, you already paid $440 and they come with a premium cable. I have to mention that they have an excellent comfort, average toward slightly deep fit, so it's shallow to average fitting, so it is not a deep fitting, but it is shallow towards medium. It's not a very deep, but not necessarily medium, but it's a bit deeper than shallow. The default ear tips are of a very good quality. I just happen to prefer to not risk it and use DD Hi-Fi ST35 tips. The EM shell is made of one piece, so the board that goes inside of your ear is part of the inner shell. The outer shell is made of metal, and there is a good amount of ventilation so that you won't ever feel any kind of driver flex, void, nor any issue while wearing the EM10. EM10 is slightly sensitive to source noise, not very heavily so. It is easy to drive. Like most EMs out there, there are very few EMs which are hard to drive, and the comfort while wearing them is excellent. I like them, they aren't very heavy, you don't really feel them inside of your ears, and actually the inner shell is made of such a biocompatible material that it feels natural to have them inside of your ears. It doesn't feel warm, it doesn't feel cold, it just feels natural. It feels like it's natural for it to be there. One of the better materials used in an EM. Sonically, EM10 is one of the most detailed EMs you can find in the roughly $500 price range. It's incredibly detailed, it has a very good revealing ability, a bit on the analytical side, naturally. It has a natural bass, natural mid-range and natural treble. In fact, the sound is incredibly natural. Once you put them inside of your ears, they just sound like that's how music should sound like. You don't really feel any kind of coloration, although they do have very good bass in the sub bass. It reaches the subs quite well. It can touch 20 Hz. The treble can extend to 20 kHz. It has a very strong upper extension, and the whole sound is super pleasing. Generally, nothing is missing from this sound, and it sounds like a proper flagship. It can even take on some $1,000 flagships. It can even sound better than them. It's a highly underrated EM because it's made in China and SIMGOT is not that popular of a brand, but they really left an impression with everyone who heard the EM6L or the other more entry-level options they have to offer. For such a complete package, an EM that offers comfort, build quality, and also sonics, EM10 is an EM you just can't miss. If you are in this price range and if you have to make a choice, it will heavily outsound, but the point is that if you have about $500 and if you want to get yourself one of the best sounding EMs out there, EM10 is going to be at the top of that list. As the sound is so natural, I should mention that the speed of the sound changes from the sub bass to the mid-range to the treble. So the sub bass and the bass is quite a bit slower. It is represented by the dynamic driver. The mid-range is represented by a combination of balanced armatures, which creates a very quick and highly resolving mid-range. while the treble is handled by both balanced armatures and a piezoelectric driver, which creates a sharper, more acute response, like a staccato. You get a really unique presentation which tries to emulate the natural characteristics of each frequency that you would hear in nature. For example, usually when someone plays an instrument, the bass is quite a bit slower than the mid-range. But when played inside of such a small shell, you hear a very high resolution and a high level of crispness in the mid-range, but the bass tends to be on the slower, more romantic side, while the treble is quite acute. So this whole presentation can feel very natural, especially with modern music, with modern rock, modern metal, EDM, pop. But if you listen to a lot of classical, it is generally a good idea to purchase EMs which have just one dynamic driver. Typically, those handle classical a bit better, while I feel like EM10 handles modern and dynamically compressed music quite a bit better. Because each driver has its own speed, it's not like it recovers the dynamic range, but it can create a better instrument separation, which gives each instrument its own character a bit better than if you have just one dynamic driver. But it comes at the cost that when a large orchestra is playing, it tends to struggle a bit to reproduce the natural sound of each instrument and the natural timbre of each instrument. Overall, it is one of the best choices you can go for in the mid-range, at around $400 to $500. It sounds highly resolving, so if you like high resolution, you will adore the SIMGOT EM10, and it has an excellent comfort. I fully recommend it, and I hope that you will recommend my channel to your friends. Like this video if you enjoyed the content, please subscribe to the channel if you want to watch more, and if you want to watch more, please do watch more, that helps me the most. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope we'll see each other really soon. Bye!